They are taken before the king of the Berbiers for a great feast, anticipating that they will be butchered for trespassing in their space. Padme then steps forward and makes appeals to the king, explaining their situation to them. The Berbier king says that they do not allow aliens to transgress their space, though he will permit no harm to come to them with such a distinguished person among them. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme all smile, and servants go with gifts to present to this most important person as they go to pay their honors to Bayok. They are startled to find that he is the honored one among them, and the Berbier king refers to him as the Prince of Alderaan. Bay then turns to them and rather quietly admits that he is the Prince of Alderaan, and his name is Baylock Organa, the son of the king, Hight Organa. Bay then tells the Berbier king that he and his friends were on a very important mission for the Republic and were simply passing through his space to avoid trouble on his way back to Alderaan. So the Berbier king offers them escort out of his space, and after saying farewell they go together back to their ship. Once on board and they have launched into space, Obi-Wan asks him precisely how a Prince of Alderaan was to be found freighting cargo as a merchant. Bay tells him that on Alderaan they don't permit their royalty to become detached from the ways of the galaxy, and so he became a merchant to work the spice routes and do other miscellaneous trade. It is required that any royalty cannot assume his role of ruler without spending several years off-planet seeing what things are truly like and making a way for himself without help. But that now he says that it's time he returned to his home world and flies them in his ship to Alderaan. The group spend a relaxed time upon Alderaan, enjoying everything the planet has to offer. They go about as Bay shows them all the important sights around the main city. They are relaxed and exhilarated, and engage in activities with one another. Then in the evening Bay goes out and finds Mundia sitting and looking at the stars, thanking him again for saving her, and he asks about her home world, and he then points the star out to her. They spend time together out beneath the stars, just the two of them. After an enjoyable stay there, Padme says that she loves the planet, but wishes now to return to their home on Korzuuk, as she is expecting she should get back due to the arrival of their child. Bay says that he will take them there himself, and they are agreeable, although Mundia decides to remain on Alderaan. Bay flies them back to Korzuuk, and lands his ship near their home. They invite him in where he spends the evening, telling them that he will return to Alderaan to take his place as co-regent with his father, and will be assigned as the new representative to the Galactic Senate. Then when he leaves, they say their farewells, and he offers TT to them as a house helper. He boards his ship and they wave to him, and watch as he takes off and flies up into the sky. The next morning Padme is working in the kitchen with TT helping her, and when Obi-Wan comes in he greets her, and mentions that he must get a shuttle back to Coruscant. But Anakin emerges and says he cannot go so soon, and he and Padme invite him to remain with them for a few days, which he agrees to do. That evening Obi-Wan and Anakin speak together, asking about his house, and he says he wanted something simple, not ostentatious or expensive, not too far from trade centers, but still far enough away to be peaceful. Saying the planet itself is fine enough, with the best weather one could ask for. They speak together, until Padme tells them that dinner is ready. They get together, and during the meal Anakin casually asks Obi-Wan about the dark side of the Force, how one would know if one is drawing from the dark side. And he tells him it depends upon what is driving you, whether you act from a sense of justice or revenge, of kindness or hate. But he asks if he is acting for the good of another and for justice, that the dark side would take hold. Obi-Wan tells him he cannot answer him from his own experience, although he has been influenced to succumb to it, as all Jedi are. Padme attempts to break the conversation into something more cheerful. Obi-Wan then asks if he has requested a dispensation from the Jedi Council, and Anakin says he hasn't, that there is far too much to do. He says, even though the Federation forces are overthrown, there is still Lord Tyrannus to deal with. And Obi-Wan cautions Anakin about thinking too much about Tyrannus, since he was the one who killed his mother, and going after him could become an act of revenge against him. Anakin says, however, that if he had to confront Tyrannus, he would not necessarily be driven to it by revenge. And Obi-Wan says this is so, but only that it will be much more difficult for him to master his feelings. Obi-Wan counsels him to leave the hunt for Tyrannus up to others. Then Anakin says that sometimes he thinks he can hear his mother speaking to him, and Obi-Wan mentions that his mother was strong in the Force. That night Anakin begins to feel the influences in his mind, as though his mind is being taken over. He sits out alone, and tries to clear his mind, but he recalls the powers that entered him that made him strong. That night Obi-Wan is in his room working through the files to be downloaded from Grievous. Anakin enters, and tells him he has been sent on another mission by the Jedi Council, and has to leave, and this gives Padme and Obi-Wan a chance to speak together, since she considers that there is something Anakin is hiding from her. Obi-Wan says all spouses hide things from their partners, as she no doubt does too. And she admits that he has found her out and is quite right, but there's something deep inside him she simply fails to understand. So then Obi-Wan suggests that when Anakin returns they have a big celebration for him. Padme asks why, and Obi-Wan says that Anakin had not requested a dispensation from the Jedi Council, and so he put one in for him, and that the mission he is on will be his last for a while. And Padme throws her arms around him. Anakin meanwhile is in the very heart of a conflict, and he corners a number of Federation sympathizers who surrender to him, before he cuts them down. He looks at them with glee, before he comes, and turns his head. A Republic commander enters, and congratulates him on his effectiveness. He wonders why they wouldn't have surrendered to him, but Anakin says there was nothing else for him to do, and walks off. Anakin arrives at his house, and when he enters everything is dark. He steps in, and everyone cheers at him with a big surprise, and Padme runs up and throws her arms around him, and Obi-Wan greets him, and welcomes him back. Anakin looks around at all his friends, who are gathered there, and asks what they are doing there. Obi-Wan tells him that they are welcoming him home, because the Jedi Council has granted him a dispensation due to the arrival of his child, and that he will be able to remain home with his wife, and not be involved in everything that's going on. Anakin looks hardly pleased. The spirit of the mood is broken, as Anakin walks off saying he has things to prepare. Padme looks upset, questioning Obi-Wan what might be wrong with him, but he says he will go in and see what is going on. Padme then walks over to the guests. Obi-Wan enters the bedroom and Anakin is busy changing, and tells him that he cannot be allowed to remain there, and that the Republic needs him, and his skills, as a Jedi, and that it's just not possible for him to give up just yet. He tells Obi-Wan that later, closer to the time when his child is to be born, then he will refrain, but not yet. Anakin then tells him that he has been given an important mission, one which simply cannot wait. He is going on a secret mission into the heart of the Separatists, and that he cannot go in the garb of a Jedi. Obi-Wan tells Anakin that he ought to take a break and recover. He is looking tired and overworked. Anakin says since the surrender of the Federation there has been much going on, but that his mission is designed to bring an end to the Separatist movement, then after he can take a break. Then he asks him if he cannot stay tonight and leave tomorrow, but he says he must leave at once. He just came back to say goodbye to Padme. But he tells him not to tell Padme that it is anything more than routine, and he agrees. Anakin finishes his change of clothes, and then puts on his mother's black hooded cape, saying that it's not traceable to the Republic, and besides is impervious to fire. Padme enters saying that she sent everyone home, and Obi-Wan tells Padme that Anakin has agreed to go on another mission and needs to leave at once. Then Obi-Wan leaves the room and Padme runs to him, and they hold one another. Later, Anakin goes out to his ship on the landing platform, and makes his final goodbyes to Padme and Obi-Wan, who walks with him while Padme and TT watch nearby. They walk slowly to his ship and then, out of sight of Padme, Anakin takes off his lightsaber and says to Obi-Wan that he wishes him to hold on to it, and that if he doesn't come back to pass it on to his son, when he's old enough, should anything happen to him. Obi-Wan agrees that he will put it away in safekeeping, but he asks Anakin that when he does return from this mission to accept the dispensation. Anakin nods and then they embrace one another. Anakin then turns and boards his fighter as Obi-Wan grips the lightsaber, slipping it into his robe, and then joins Padme and TT by the house as they watch his ship blasting away. Obi-Wan puts his hand on the lightsaber and then tells Padme there has been a change of plan, and that he will remain with her until Anakin's return. Anakin speaks to AR to set the coordinates to take him on a circuitous path into Separatist space, and they enter in and land on the planet. But soon after he arrives he hears a public announcement that with the defeat of the Federation forces that Lord Tyrannus seeks terms of surrender. Everyone cheers, while Anakin pays close attention as they show the masked Tyrannus standing up and making his speech of capitulation. And then the announcement is made that the ceasefire is in effect, and the official surrender will occur on the planet Mustafar, on the frontier of Separatist space. While everyone else shows relief and joy, Anakin quickly returns to his ship, getting in and requesting clearance for launching. The crew there tell him that the war is over, repeating word about the surrender, but he says he wishes to leave at once. He launches, and then in space tells AR to set their course for Mustafar. Palpatine is on the convoy transporting the senator to Mustafar to secure the peace. Anakin, meanwhile, comes out of hyperspace above Mustafar and steers his ship towards the Republic fleet gathered there. He is permitted to land and gets out and is greeted warmly and with hugs and cheers from his fellows. But after engaging in some forced small talk he asks where Palpatine is, and they tell him he is just about to shuttle down. Anakin arrives and tells them that he has been given the duty of escorting him by the Jedi Council, but is told that they haven't received any word of this. So he uses a Jedi mind trick to get past them. He goes to the hangar bay where the shuttle is situated and is able to sneak himself on board. Palpatine then enters and is taken down to the planet and then proceeds to an edifice within the heart of permanent lava flows. He enters into the palace with his bodyguard and then across a long bridge over the lava to the entrance of the central chamber. He tells his guards to stand outside while he goes into the spacious hall. Entering he sees a figure looking out the large windows at the lava flows outside. Turning, it is Lord Tyrannus. Tyrannus sees Palpatine and comes to him, bows to him, and calls him master, and Palpatine laughs. Anakin makes his way across the bridge to the edifice and finds a way into the central chamber, and there he sees Palpatine, and Tyrannus turns and looks at him, recognizing Anakin. Anakin tells Tyrannus that there is no point in wearing that mask, because one of us isn't going to leave here alive. Tyrannus agrees, and removes the mask he is wearing, and beneath reveals himself to be Count Dooku.